This conference will now be recorded.
All righty. Well, so I've been playing with the laser, playing with that fiber. I'm actually seeing how many times it takes to cut through a piece of 3.3 millimeter steel or
Oh,
aluminum.
there you go. Wow. Huh.
So, and I have no idea the settings, so I'm just gonna run it over and over again until it keeps track of how many passes and how many loops.
Right.
So I'm gonna see how long it takes, and then my settings will probably be way off, but that's how I learn. I just run it and do it and see what happens.
Figured out. Yep. Yeah, I see you were playing with the exhaust system and making sure it was all good as it could get.
Yeah, and I think there's needs a little bit more surface area on the intake, not to actually evacuate the exhaust from there, because it does a great job at that. It's just that flow meter in that sees a little bit too much restriction there, even though there's technically no restriction in the lines. But I think they can reprogram that. I think there's probably a pod in there they can adjust on that airflow sensor to calibrate it, to the maximum flow rate of that machine, so that alarm won't just
keep going off.
Yeah.
Does that bofa work pretty good though?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And I know I'm producing a bunch of nasty stuff now, and I don't smell anything, even like with anodized and painted stuff. I've done some deep engraving on copper. I'm going to do some more on that. Aluminum and a bunch of anodized stuff. So
are those pretty expensive, Brian?
the lasers?
No, the bofa.
Oh, I don't know. They sent this one to me to try out. We're just now getting into the works with them. I'm supposed to have a phone call with them tomorrow, and we're going to have sales involved and support.
Nice.
The BOFA guy, it's a company out of the U.S. and it's an industrial company, and they're the U.S. distributor for BOFA. So support's going to come straight from them, and I've heard that they're fantastic.
Oh, good.
And of course, they'll have all the filters and all that stuff and know about them and have them in stock here in the U.S.
That's
so it'll
good.
take a lot of pressure off us, So, and they seem to be awesome products. They've this AD Access, and they probably all have it. They've got an alarm output, logic level trigger, to interrupt a job or do something like that. As well as being able to control it with a 24-volt relay to actually turn it on and off with the machine.
Nice.
However, since we've got a TL timer in the Aurora, though, so the exhaust port is already powered and controlled by the TL timer. And I looked, and it's a 10 amp relay, and that's only a 7 amp. That AD Access only draws about 7 amps max. So I just plugged it straight in and let it turn the main power on and off with it, and it's working fine.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So that's more plug and play than, because that cord is just a pigtail. You'd have to go into the machine and wire up the IOs for the extractor. But luckily, we can plug it up and run. So, all right. Well, we got a few people in here today, so if anybody has anything, feel free just to run with it. And so, how is your 35 compared to your 24, besides obviously a little bit of power and size difference? I mean,
I think the only thing I've noticed is the minimums for that 35-100 are surprisingly low compared to my 24. The lowest percentage I can get on my 24 is 10-11%, and it drops off. I mean, I can go all the way down to about 4% on that 35-100, which, when you're working really small stuff, it's nice to be able to have that much more flexibility and being able to set your minimum settings up. So that's really the only thing that I've seen is you have the ability to be a little bit more granular with your adjustments on that 35.
Yeah, I think part of that's attributed to the fact that it already has a 100-watt power supply in it,
exactly.
to be able to make the, So I've been pleased with mine. I think that, I think it's a great size for me,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I've done several larger projects with it now, quite a few acrylic projects with it, and it's as good as it gets, as far as I'm concerned. I really haven't had you know, other than figuring out the settings for the 100-watt instead of the 60-watt like everybody else has to. But
Right.
yeah, no, it's been good. The extra Z depth has been nice. I've had some projects that I've kind of really needed that extra depth, and that's been, you know, 3 inches is a lot when you're talking
Sure.
projects. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing I will mention, you probably already figured that out, but you know, there's a bunch of people that are getting multiple Thunders now, and I probably ought to do an article about it. But you know, each of the offset scanning offset adjustments and all of that stuff, that's device specific. So
right.
if you have a Nova 24 and a Nova 35, you want to set up your Nova 24 with those offsets, and then set up your 35 with the correct ones. That way, you're not getting all mixed up. And I think I could see that probably happening pretty easy if it hasn't already. So
Right.
you know, it's a good thing to point out if you're running multiple machines. So
You know, I was kind of surprised, and I really didn't know what it was going to be like. But you know, I've got those 2 machines side by side, and you know, I've got one single light burn going, and I can, you know, flop back and forth between my 24 and my 35 seamlessly. It's you know, there's
Sure.
just nothing to it. It's the way they've got that integrated is very nice.
Yeah, and since that, you know, since this 0.24 having where the communications only, you know, communicate with the controller when it needs to, that even offers you the ability to have 2 instances open and actually have one connected to one laser and one the other, or 2 instances connected to the same laser, which you could never do before. They would crash.
Right.
So
Yep.
yeah, the way he's redone the communications to make all that stuff jive is pretty cool. So
Yeah, I think the only thing I've noticed, and it hasn't been lately, but this most recent version, when you're using the comparator for the photographs, where, you know, you're in the image adjust pane, and if you've got any sizable photograph that you're manipulating, on occasion it will crash.
Well, Hank,
And
yeah,
it'll just freeze up and then you're done. But that's the only time, from a stability standpoint, that's the only thing I've noticed in this latest version. And the problem is that I can't recreate it, so I can't send it to him to let him know what I'm doing to make that happen.
right. And also the system, you know, parameters have a lot to do with that. He may run it on a system that's real hot and has 128 megs of memory on board and a separate video card, and that may behave a little bit differently than somebody that was running off of a laptop or an off the shelf.
Yeah, and mine is mine is marginal. It's a laptop's got 16 gigs. It's
Sure.
nothing special, you know.
Yeah, which is plenty typically for that, you know, more than enough. Yeah, but you're right. Some of those complex graphics, there's a lot of computation going on in there.
Yeah, yep, that's for sure. But other than that, I was pleasantly surprised on being able to just seamlessly go back between the 24 and the 35, because there has been times I've had them both running at the same time. So
yeah. Yeah, you could turn that 24 into a tumbler machine while you're cutting out acrylic on the other one.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got the ATM machine out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the money makers, we're going all the way, and I've got to seriously consider whether I'm going to continue to keep that machine or sell it and save my pennies for a fiber. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Nova 24 is not far off from a 20-watt fiber anyway, you know.
No, that's
so
right.
that's not a big step.
No, it's not.
And especially with the resale that you get on the Thunders, you know.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
I've got several people that are kind of in line if that's what I want to do. So
yeah, sure. So, all right. Well, like I said, if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to jump in. Looks like we got a short crew today. Let's see. Oh, I'm still sharing a page. That's messing things up. Let me turn that off for a minute. There we go. I could go through some of the fiber stuff, but I've basically just been playing, you know, and I don't want to take up all that time. If somebody else has any questions, I noticed Monica has her mic on. Do you have any questions or comments? We'll be glad to field them for you. Okay. Well, of course, I don't ever have a backup plan, but we have more people popping on, so we'll get some chatter going in a minute. Let me check the text or the chat. I'm terrible about that because I never can find the little button where it is. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Keith has a question. While marking the bottoms of stainless tumblers, let's see. Oh, and Monica's trying to talk, but we can't hear her. Okay, we'll work through this stuff. Let's see what Keith has to say in the chat. 500 millimeters per second, 30% power. That was enough to engrave the stainless. Let's see, the laser bond. I had to drop the power to 15. I'm curious, same level engravage will. Now you can't. It's a bad idea to try to engrave directly on the steel. You need to use a marking compound. And part of that is because if you try, even though you might get some thermal change and deformation and change in color and that kind of thing, that's probably not a good thing. That can actually damage your laser. That's why we don't claim to try to ablate metal with these things. It'll burn out your output coupler and burn your red dot lens up and things like that. So using a marking compound and using relatively conservative amounts of power will help from that. So, and cool, no problem. And I don't know how to help Monica's microphone. There's a call in somewhere. You can actually use your phone and call in as another person or join on your phone or something. That may be one option. So maybe she'll get that going. Looks like there's a phone icon by it now. Maybe she's switching over. So, but like I said, anybody has anything, feel free to chime in. Jared, good to see you on here, man. So.
Good to be heard.
So how you been?
Good. Been doing a lot of traveling, so laser hadn't been getting as much work, but after next weekend, hopefully things will settle down a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, I sit right next to my lasers and they hardly ever get used, so at least you're out enjoying yourself a little bit.
Amen to that.
What's going on, Blue Moose?
Oh, not much. It's in the middle of wrapping a police car, so I had to break away.
Nice.
From it. Yeah.
Awesome. You get to test drive them after, don't you? I used to put the radios and sirens and stuff in them at this place I worked, and we'd always get to go out and test them. That was always fun.
Yeah. Well, this one kind of made a little bit of a boo-boo when I went to pick it up and didn't realize it's an undercover one, so all the lights are concealed on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't see any of the lights from when you're inside the truck, and they had left all the lights on, so I drove it back from their shop to mine with all my lights on.
Did you make it pretty quick, or was everybody slowing up, getting in your way?
Oh, it was actually pretty quick. So luckily they're only about 3 blocks away, so it wasn't like a big deal, but
right.
Still.
Right. It didn't turn into an OJ chase, them thinking you're out there trying to mess around.
No,
so they didn't come
and
at
luckily most of the cops here know me because I wrap all their vehicles. So
sure, absolutely. So, do you have a fiber? I forget.
No, I'm waiting for you guys to release it.
Ah, that's right. And that's coming. I'm talking with Bofa and Grant tomorrow, hopefully. And then I think we got our ducks in a row enough that we can hopefully push it out. So
Okay.
I don't know how it's going to go. There's only 5 total in the U.S. right now on the U.S. soil, and I got one of them. The other 4 are staging. So.
Okay. Well, I get one of those 4, right?
It's possible. I don't think we hold line and things like that. Just like none of that affiliate junk. We don't hold line either. But yeah, I think we're gonna see what we can do to get those 4 out pretty quick to some people. So hopefully they say, what did they say? Fall is what I'm supposed to say. But
something like that.
What is it? Almost August? Is it August?
Almost. In a couple days.
Couple days. So I can't tell. I blacked out my windows. I don't even know if it's daylight or dark now. I just work continuously.
Are they all the 30 watters that you have stateside?
20. They're the 20s.
20 watt? Yeah. No, none of the BOFAs.
They've got about 20 BOFAs sitting staging for us on the extractors to place with them, and they also have
not the BOFAs, the color laser engraver ones.
Oh, the MOPA.
MOPA.
Yeah. I'm not sure about those. I'm sure they'll be out. They may already. I am sure they already have some. I don't know the status on that. They're gonna launch with these 20 watt standards and see how they go, and then start building up from there. Because it's going to be a challenge to be able to get those here and still get the amount of machines that we need to have passing through the port through there. 'Cause we're limited to the number of containers we can get, in a month.
Yeah.
So we're pushing them through. I mean, we're moving containers it's insanity. I mean, there's trailers dropping every 2 weeks. It's just a nightmare out there, I guess. So we're trying to figure out the logistics on how to pepper those fibers in on the other containers, without having to say leave off 2 Nova 64s, to get some fibers over here. Somebody might not like that. That's got a 64 on order if we push their machine back a container to get some. So we're trying to work that out and make it as painless as possible without having to wait too long. So
Yeah.
let's see. I was checking the tickets for a minute. It's been pretty quiet today.
Can you guys hear me now?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, cool. All right, cool. Yeah, I just had a couple questions. I've only talked with like a salesperson so far, and she recommended coming to these meetings. I am very new to lasers. I was originally looking at a Glowforge, the best one that they sell, most expensive one. But the problem is, right now I etch glass, and I just use like Armor Etch to etch it, and I was looking to do it with a laser. Glowforges only have a height of 2 inches that they can do for like cups and stuff, which is how I found you guys. So, I mean, just as somebody who's looking to buy a laser and doesn't know anything about them, like, and as far as like, I guess just off the top of my head, I for sure want to do cups and stuff like that, and then potentially also wood items. I was looking at the Nova 24 because it compared the most to the Glowforge, and it's more within my price range.
Sure.
So just like all that in mind, like what would you tell someone who's like looking to get a laser and like, yeah, because I don't know anything. The most I've ever worked with is just like a vinyl cutter, a GraphTech.
Okay.
So that's as far
you're
as I know.
familiar with that software that comes with it's GraphTech branded, but it's Flexi. So Lightburn is real similar to that if you're using the included software with your GraphTech. And it's easy. If you can do that vinyl cutter, you can do this. And we've got some resources that can help you with that. But the Nova 24 is a good thing, because you can get it for about the same as you can get one of those Glowforge Pros for. And I'm not going to bash Glowforge. There's a place for everybody, but this is definitely an industrial machine. The Glowforge has a bunch of caveats that, especially if you can use it in a business environment, if you want to make money on it and get an ROI on it, you don't want to be waiting 6 weeks for them to swap out lasers with you when something goes wrong and have to fight with them to do it and that kind of thing, and a host of other things. But yeah, you can get something up to 8.3. That sounds about right, doesn't it, Robert? I've got a 35, and Robert's got a 24. He's probably more well versed on that machine because he owns one.
Yeah, that 6.1 on the 24, Brian.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
they've got 8.3 in here. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I need to have them fix that.
Yeah. Unless that's
right.
changed since they redid the tray,
Yeah.
but I
The
know
way I
mine is
remember
6.1.
Yeah, 6.1, and then the others were 8.1. Of course, the Nova 63 they had to bring up. They lost a half inch or something because they had to make the bottom taller so that the accessories would fit underneath it in the crate because that's all they can do.
Right.
So maybe it has to do with the focal length. There's an article about it, I think, that I wrote about the 63s. But yeah, 6 inches, ideally. And you can get more. You can take out the honeycomb. You can take out the blades. You can set it right down on the bottom if you really want to, or chalk it up with some wood or whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I've done 64-ounce growlers on my 24. I've done 8-inch diameter dog bowls. There's a number of different ways you can set it up. I really haven't found many things that you can't do, even with the 24 and the low roller rotary. It's pretty versatile. I really don't know of many things that I can't do other than length. You can't do baseball bats and those kind of things because of the width. But I've had my Nova 24 for about a year and a half and absolutely loved it for the whole time. The good thing about it is it's like Brian says, it's an industrial machine. You can run it all day, every day, and not have to worry about that you're overworking it. That's what it's designed to do. So.
Yeah, and it's not hard to use. In our support site, there's a cheat sheet, and let's go back to the home page, and you can just go to support. I'll just link it in the text if I can find it. And Keith had another question in the text thing. We'll hit that in just a minute. But there's our support site, and then there's a cheat sheet here. But there's things, and you can do like real world kind of searches, fuzzy searches. You know, like I have an article in here. Is it hard to run a Thunder laser? And this is a little 30-minute, I think, video around that. That'll show you how you can import from others. So if you're used to designing your stuff, you know, for your software in Flexi or whatever that solution is, or like Inkscape or another vector editing program, Illustrator, doesn't matter. You can easily bring that artwork into Lightburn. You don't have to use Lightburn to design it, at least not in the beginning while you're learning it. But this kind of goes over an overview about all of those things. So there's a lot of good resources in here, even pre-sale stuff, even though it's typically, you know, catered to the user, but there's a lot of good information in here that you can find. So.
Okay, cool.
And then if you had any questions, you know, that are more technical in nature, you can feel free to email support@thunderlaserusa.com, and we'll be glad to answer your questions, or hit up the guys on the forum. That's the other half that makes Thunder so great. Besides the good equipment, it's the community that's built around it. So I'm real pleased with how that looks, because in the generic Chinese laser world, the forums are not quite so tame. There a lot of them are dumpster fires. And we seem to do a pretty good job because all of our stuff is so standardized. We can have discussions about speed and power and things like that, and it actually means something because all the machines are made the same way and calibrated the same way, and that's not the case with a lot of those out there. So it can get a little hairy, but our groups are awesome to check out if you haven't, our Facebook groups. So
yeah, one other thing I would recommend is look at doing one of the Thunder demos. They've got demo sites all over the US, and you know, that's a really good way to get just that kind of introductory hands-on with one of the Thunder lasers. You know, it might not be the same exact unit that you're getting, but they usually try to match it up. Like if you're getting a 24, but you know, the closest one to you might be the 35. You know, they'll get you set up with a demo on a 35 versus, you know, going up to like a huge, you know, one like mine on the 63. But
those are in-person demos?
Well, yeah, they are. We started that kind of pre-COVID, and we've got some like Robert and Travis and some others. They're demo partners, and they have, you know, arranged to show their machine off to people. And you know, it's up to them, and we let them pick whether they want to do it depending on the case and all of that. And we haven't really advertised it, but if you need to be in front of one, if you got to kick the tires on one before you decide, we can probably make that happen. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd love to get to see a 63 in action a little bit. That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm in the process of, I've had a tax number for a firecracker stand for years that my dad and them were using. So I'm new to all this business part of it, and trying to, because in the first couple of quotes that I got, they didn't show the tax and everything. It was showing me that. Then all of a sudden they hit me. And I'm like, well, damn, that's $1,700, man. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to figure out. I'm going to have to start the other part up first instead of getting it and kind of playing with it, and then do all the extra business side of it. But yeah, I'd love to see a 63 in action.
What I can tell you about the 63, because I have a 63 and a 35. And the 63 is a love-hate relationship. I love the machine to death, but the one drawback is you get addicted to that size and you hate it because it's not a little bit bigger. So yeah, there's a, you know, we've put some pretty crazy stuff. We've engraved, probably one of the most unique things that we've thrown in our laser is a car door, and laser engraved a car door.
Nice.
Also, what I was wondering is on the bed, what's the weight, the most weight that you could actually put in the bed?
I think it's pretty heavy. I think it's 150, 200 pounds, something like that.
Well, the Nova 35 is 88 pounds, and that's the highest one. It's in the manual here. We'll look it up here real quick. All the specs for all the machines are in the unified manual.
I mean, I've never put anything 150 pounds in my laser.
Right. Well, we've had people wanting to put, you know, like granite and stuff in there, like big chunks, you know.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So
Not that I'm really going to do the big chunks, but I was just curious if,
yeah,
if for
so
whatever reason.
44 pounds. Yeah, 66 pounds on the Nova 63 and the Nova 51, 88 on the 35, and 44 on the Nova 24.
Yeah, so what I can tell you is that 66-pound limit, they are being very generous, or
Yes.
very frugal with that. That's what I meant.
Yes.
I've ran granite and concrete tombstones inside mine before, and those are heavy.
You also cut metal, so shh. So did I, but
I do a lot of stuff with my laser that you're not supposed to, but
right.
It's why not?
It's innovation and R&D, right? That is exactly what it is. So, but yeah, these are conservative numbers. I mean, their safety factors are 2 or 3 when they build any of this stuff in anyway. I mean, you know, from the wiring to the contactors to the weight specifications and limits. So I'm sure you can go well beyond that, but of course, you know, they got to put something on paper. So they're a little bit conservative about it. We've got a couple people thinking outside the box. I've got one guy calling that wants to take a Sawzall to a Nova 51 or a Nova 63 possibly, or maybe a 35, and actually cut the entire bottom out of it so that you can do it AP laser style, you know, and slide stuff underneath it.
I've thought about doing that with mine, especially when we had to put the car door in there.
Yeah, and the official response is, oh heck no! The minute you cut something on that machine, your warranty is cut off, and that's the official stance. But after looking at mine a little bit and looking at how the base is on there, you don't know what happens over time when you cut structural components of that laser. You know, is it going to release? You know, is it going to flex? Is it going to put tension in places where it didn't have before? You know, and cause things down the road. You know, of course, your tube could shatter 6 months from now, you know, from pressure, you know, that kind of thing. But if he does it, even though we say that he shouldn't, I asked him if he would take before and after pictures or document it in some way, because if it is successful, I want to see it.
Yeah, the only downfall to that is other than doing car parts, I've never really understood, you know, the good reason of doing that. And it's very, very rare that we have to actually throw car parts in our laser.
Right. Well, like I'm not too far from Lynchburg, so you know the Jack Daniels barrels are a huge thing, and I know that's one big thing that the APs get a lot of business from, is so they can take the barrel, lay it under their sideways, and engrave on it, or even have it where they can sit it up and just engrave on the lid without having to remove it first. You know,
Gotcha.
so that's a big deal.
And caskets.
Yeah,
Caskets.
yeah, that kind of stuff is a huge deal with them. You know, anything like that. Because, you know, I was thinking of, you know, I cut the bottoms out of my K40s all the time, but those are K40s, you know, that's a little different.
Yeah.
But I'd even thought about mounting one of those, like where you could stick it right to the door, you know, like just line it up on the door and have the focal length right. And you just suction cup it, or, you know, screw it to the door and let it engrave, and then unscrew it and put some putty over it, over the screw holes, and you're good to go.
Just get a little woodpecker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The laser pecker.
Or laser pecker,
yeah.
yeah.
One of those? Yeah, I don't know, man. If that thing will even burn wood, I know it'll burn your eyes. I don't know what they're doing about safety. I think the new model has like a conveyor belt and these little flip up shields that go around it and stuff.
Yeah, they're still pretty hokey though.
That's kind of funny. So, and they have their place too, I guess. People are using them.
Yep.
So I see that more in a makerspace or a learning lab kind of thing, and like middle school kind of thing, like playing with the robots and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Although I don't know, our makerspace here, they're running Trotex.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why are you guys running like the world's most expensive laser in a makerspace? Like, well, we didn't know anything about it. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, you should just talk to me.
Yeah, so there's not a makerspace around my area here in Middle Tennessee. Well, not in Murfreesboro. There's one at MTSU at the college, but it's just for faculty and staff and students. But they don't even have one like in the library. I would like to do something like that and have it powered by Thunder Laser. You know, put a couple of the lasers in there. Maybe use a little of the space for some parts and things like that, and I could be there to mess with the laser. Yeah, I think having a makerspace would be cool. The business model, though, I can't wrap my head around it, not without a lot of thought, because you got to really set it up right to to break even, much less,
Yeah,
unless you
I
get
don't
into the
know.
501c3 and start getting grants, and that opens up a whole nother world. So
Yeah, and I don't know how the one up here is doing it, because they only charge us like $35 a month for the membership, and they've got 2 lasers, they've got a big screen press unit down there, wide format printer. I mean, they've got like everything that a shop like mine would need. And
right.
I'm just like, how, with all that stuff and all the consumables, how are you making any money at $35 a person?
Right. Yeah, there's definitely got to be some magic sauce in there to make that work, and I haven't
Yeah.
seen what that is yet. So,
Well, I think they look at it like kind of like a gym membership. People, buy the membership and they just don't come in. So it
that's a
pays for,
very good point.
yeah, I mean,
I'm sure that happens because it's all subscription based typically. Yeah.
exactly. And then not only that, nowadays everything you got to have a credit card or a debit card. It's automatic pay, and then you're not thinking about it. Just like Prime hits you, and then it takes you a month, about 4 months to get them to take it off, type thing. And
Yeah.
before it's over with, they done hit you for like $200 to get you off of it. And then you can't do nothing about it. Then you can go in and use it.
I forgot about Keith's question. So sorry, Keith. When running a program where the layer is to be engraved by group, the transversal speed is really low, 100 millimeters per second or less, and it has a slight pause. Is it adjustable? The transversal speed is adjustable, I think, in the machine settings. However, and that's while you're doing the group, right? That's why you have certain groups, because you got a lot of white space you're trying to avoid. Is that part of it? Let's see. Okay, yeah, whatever the controller is set to, that's only the jog speed for when you're using the arrows on the controller. So the transversal speed, when you're controlling it via Lightburn, that's going to be in the machine settings. And typically that doesn't need to be adjusted. It may not hurt for you to email your Lightburn file to support@thunderlaserusa.com, and I'll have a look at it, and we can talk through it there and get it figured out. So, let's see, just checking the systems again. I always have to check the systems. So, but like I said, anybody has anything, please just jump in, or we'll just jabber about anything.
What have y'all heard about? What have y'all heard? Oh, good. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I got one for you. So a while back, when you and I were working on mine to get it to cut through metal, I had modified the config files in Lightburn for the max wattage that would push through the tube.
Oh, the min and max. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the defaults for that? Because right now I'm sitting at 100% for the max. But I want to put mine back to the default, so that way when I'm telling someone I'm running 60% power, it's the same as their 60% power.
Let's see. I've got this one for, do you know what version firmware you're running? Do you have a 7-pin rotary switch, or is it a 5-pin with a switch? Let's see. I think there's another document that shows it better.
Yeah, I've got a 5-pin.
Okay, so that's going to be the older firmware. I think it's 7 and 70. I think it's 7% on the min and 70% on the max, and then 0 to 100 is actually between that range of 7 to 70. That's how we normally do both of them. Yeah, here's on the vendor settings for 59 and below. It says minimum 1, maximum 70.
Okay.
The ones I've seen are all 7 and 70, but that's all the new versions too. Yours is a little bit older now. Now you can also do the default reset, and that may take it back. And
okay, because I know I had set mine to 1 and 100.
Yeah, so you can probably just do this, go in and pick reset to default parameters and punch in the password, and it'll bring everything back to how it was out of the box. Don't do the factory reset. Be sure you do the default reset. The factory one takes it back to Ruida, before, right as it, yeah. So the default one will put it back to Thunder's OEM specs.
Okay.
So, and I'll link that in the chat so you can see it.
Okay, perfect.
So, but yeah, I think it's 7 and 70, but yours, it says here is 1 and 70. And then here's some variances. You know, we kind of calculated 2 power. There's a lot of stuff in here if you dig through. Let's see, let me go back to that other one. Is that where that was? I had the list. I would try 1 and 70 since that's what it's showing. You've got this version.
Okay.
So I would go
Yeah,
1 to
I'll
70.
probably I'm going to set my max to 70, but I'll probably set my minimum to about 5.5, because that's where it actually starts firing at.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what they're trying to do, is treat it kind of like a tickle, even though it's not an RF tube. It's not technically a tickle, but just to get, so you don't have to get all the way to 15 before it starts firing. Like, what is going on here?
yeah.
Why do I have to go up so high to fire? So that's really to manage expectations more than it is for any kind of safety factor, you know, like the maximum is. So, but as long as you keep your maximum at 70, that'll keep you safe from overdriving.
Okay. Well, you know, I've gone how many years now with that 63 overdriven, and I haven't had a single problem with it yet. So
yeah, it's got the SPT 130 in it, right? The C130.
Yep.
Is that the stock tube?
Yep. I haven't burnt it out yet.
Wow. Well, maybe I need to burn some more razor blades with my HR head.
I'd say, you know, the crap I've been doing with mine. So
Yeah. I think you were going to play with some O2 using a gas shield using oxygen one time, weren't you?
yeah.
Or
So
did you decide not to blow yourself up?
Yeah, and the oxygen actually, it got a pretty good burn, but honestly, nitrogen did right about the same as oxygen.
On stainless, or was this on like mild steel?
Mild steel.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
like A36 or something.
Yeah, as far as the cleanliness of the cut, you know, the nitrogen did just as well as oxygen. I mean, it gave it a nice clean cut on it. So, and it's a heck of a lot safer to work with.
Yeah. Well, if oxygen didn't give you an added benefit, then I guess any inert gas would work, because you're really just trying to, you know.
Although it might have, you know, it might have worked better. I haven't tried it on stainless. So, I mean, oxygen still might work better on stainless, just because
I think they prescribe one gas for stainless over the others. Like, it's usually nitrogen, but use oxygen on this or something like that. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
But I know that the nitrogen will actually, you know, deplete the oxygen in there, you know, almost completely. So
yeah,
that could be a benefit in some things. I forget what material, you know, they prescribe what for, but I have heard some discussion about that.
Yeah, I also did notice that when I did run nitrogen and forgot about it and burnt some wood, those were the cleanest cuts on wood I've ever had.
Really? Keith asked about that.
Yeah,
there was is that what?
Zero char, zero, not even a golden edge. I know it's still birch white.
Really?
Yeah. But
so
kind of expensive to do.
Yeah. Nitrogen assist for the wood cutting. That's something to think about.
Yeah, who would have thought? And that one was pure accident. Oh wait, hold on. What does Keith asking? Oh hey, yeah, Keith just asked about nitrogen on wood.
You were just talking. That's perfect. See how in tune we are?
Yeah.
You can feel the symmetry.
Yep.
What have y'all heard about on those pie burn rotaries? Any feedback on that? I know they just recently like did 5 of them, like 5 people on a couple of different Facebook groups that I was in or whatever that were talking about it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around a little bit, but we've had intimate personal experience with our OEM since the very beginning, you know, and they've kind of followed us. So I'm going to reserve any of my thoughts until after I see them. But I know by looking at the failure rates and the calls that we get for rotaries, which are almost non-existent, that there's no reason to fix something that ain't broke. So maybe it's just as good, maybe it's a little better, who knows? And I'm willing to give anything a try. But at the same time, you know, RotoBoss has kind of followed along with us as we've grown, and they've adapted, you know, to some of our demands, and they've been real good to work with. So, you know, if there's, like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. I'm sure they're good, and if you want to use them, that's fine. us changing our entire, structure on sales and all that stuff and changing OEMs is not taken lightly. Does it ever happen? Maybe, yeah, but at this point, we're not looking at changing or offering dual. We're just going to stick with what we want. And if you want to get a pie burn, you're more than welcome to do so. But I don't have any historical data or factual data on it, since they just started the Thunder thing. It'll take a year of feedback on the Thunder specific version on that before I would probably even offer any sort of opinion officially. So.
Yeah. Which Rotary is that one?
It's the pie burn.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's Ashley and a couple other people in some of the other groups, and Todd and Jeremy, some of the other Thunder owners are starting to look at them. I mean, yeah, it's mostly all metal, and the RotoBoss is going to be too, and we're going to have silicone O-rings. We're going to have most of the same stuff. As far as how one works over the other, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as they're built well and designed well, it's just motors and gears and pulleys.
Yeah.
Again, if they both perform, it's kind of like, do you like Chevy or Ford?
Yeah. But what I can say is I remember when we were going through the R&D with RotoBoss, and I still have one of their original beta units. And there was a lot of me and Jason on the phone going back and forth trying to figure it out, repinning stuff, and it was
right.
The struggle was real.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it might be a good product. I'm not going to bash them, and if people want to get them, all for it, and we'll do what we can to support it from the laser, from the laser end. And then, of course, since we don't really know that much about it, any of the final support would ultimately need to come from those guys. But we don't dictate what you can use on the machine. As long as you don't blow the machine up with it, then we might have a little problem. But as long as they know what they're doing, it seems like they do. It's really just the motor. The motor and the driver needs to jive.
No, I was just curious because I just recently saw that or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm really maxed out. If I get to 63, I'm really maxing myself out in the beginning anyway. So It's just kind of looking,
Sure. And, like I said, they're probably both good. I don't have enough data on it to know yet. Of course, we always watch all of that stuff. But I don't see any changes coming, immediately for sure. Because like I said, they've done a whole lot to build up, because he started doing custom. All of his rotaries were custom. And it's still the same way. He builds it after he gets your name, so it's still that kind of thing. He just has a little time to get them done because our machines take a little while to get there. So, so we like to maintain that loyalty. So as long as everything's fine, I've had maybe 3 calls on the Rotary, and I think 2 of them were shipping damage, where they had gotten broken or something messed up. And I think I had a bent lead screw on one of them. And other than that, it's either been, a belt tension issue or a setup issue or an operation issue, something like that. So they've been flawless in the way they perform, as far as I can tell. So, and the pie burn probably will behave similarly, because again, it's a chunk of steel and bearings and rollers. So if it's just not sloppy, I'm sure it'll do a great job too. So.
Yeah, like I was telling Cheyenne the other day, what I probably going to do is I'm going to buy the machine, and then I'll pay cash for that to get the discount, and then pay for the other after September when it's all metal or whatever, to put it on a credit card or something.
Yeah. And yeah, we've had a few people ask about when it's going to get metal, and I think Jason touched on it last week. As soon as he can get all that stuff together, I'm sure he's going to start pushing them out.
Yeah, I think what he was saying was September.
Yeah, and the all metal will help. I say all metal. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 little end caps and some pieces that still aren't, but like he said, all the stuff that matters. And then the silicone O-rings, of course, will be a huge help on that over those neoprene or rubber ones or whatever those are. So
yeah, so the O-rings are the only thing that I've ever had to replace on mine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even on the silicone ones, you're going to wear those out too, just depending on how much you use it.
And I've still got the acrylic model. When the frame was acrylic, it wasn't even machined aluminum, not even that part. It was all acrylic and 3D print.
So you want to see an old relic? Yeah.
I use it well, I don't use it every day. I use it every time I use it, whatever that means. Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, there you go.
the good old Thunder Chuck.
Yeah, my rotary's still the acrylic one. Brian and I use it just about every day. It's been
And you do
great.
that crazy stuff where they have to stitch back together on the other side. See, I don't mess with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's got to have a little bit of consistency.
Yeah, I do a lot of complete
repeatability.
wraps, and it's it's done. I'm going to get an all metal one when Jason gets to producing them, but the one that I've got has been a trooper. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Do you guys still sell the Chuck rotary?
Do we sell it?
Yeah.
We took it off the list, but I mean, we can get them. If somebody needs a Chuck and they know they do, they're going to say it, and then we'll do it. We don't put it out there because it confuses everybody. And 99% of the time, the Chuck's not what you want. So we just kind of limited it from the equation. But if somebody knows, yeah, I know I need a Chuck because I'm doing this or that or the other, then we do have it available. We have to get them from China.
Gotcha.
Yeah, on the rotary thing too, I'm kind of curious because like at Hobby Lobby, you know, during, right before Christmas time or whatever, they had those little Christmas glass Christmas ornaments. I don't know if you'd be able I don't know if you'd really be able to get that on there and actually do those like that or not, or if it's too thin a glass.
Like just the glass balls, the frosted ones that are different colors. You can do those without a rotary.
Whether clear, and then you know you can put whatever design on or whatever.
I gotcha. I've done standard glass ornaments. Just leave them in the box and just engrave right on the face of them. There's enough tolerance in the lens, especially if you use a 4-inch. If you're not doing anything real elaborate or intricate, real high definition, that 4-inch is a little more forgiving, you know, on that contour, and you can get out a little farther on the edges. But you could do those laying flat, I would say, depending on the artwork.
So that's what we do a lot of times. We do it, and we use a 3-inch lens or a 2.5-inch lens.
Yeah.
And it works really well. But honestly, with that RotoBoss, I've put the clear glass ornaments on there and done, you know, full wrap engraving on them without an issue.
Without them, how do you keep them from tracking off and things?
So you know the little spring wheel that he has to hold the things down. So I just took the wheels off and just put the actual clip piece inside the ball.
There you go.
Yep, worked really good.
There you go. All right, man. That's cool.
And that's one of the things I like about the RotoBoss is that you can take them apart and put them back together to fit whatever you're doing without an issue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a good idea, man. So.
Yeah, because I plan on getting the extensions too. Since, like I said, if I get the 63, my plan is to get the 63 and then build everything up a little bit, and then probably end up maybe getting the fiber. By the time I build all that up, y'all have all the kinks and everything going on that good.
Yeah, I might have learned how to work it by then.
Right.
I'm still trying to burn through that aluminum over here.
And then probably get a 35 and have a 35 for the smaller stuff and more of the cups type stuff, and then use the 63 for big stuff.
Right. Absolutely. So.
And honestly, what I can tell you is if you just get the standard RotoBoss for 63, so there's quite a few times that I just take off the back side of mine that's got the free floating wheels, and I'll just magnet it in place wherever I need it on my machine and not even have it connected to the main part.
Nice.
So I don't even know that you really need the extension kit. I mean, if you're doing really high tolerance stuff, then yeah, you would want that to keep it all in a nice straight line. But if you're just doing things like baseball bats or whatever like that, you know, just throw some magnets on the side of it and call it a day.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll end up messing with it a lot. I mean, I'm going in here green. I'm not that great on computers and stuff anyway. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I was locked up for many years and I'm stuck home dad. So I'm trying to hustle from the house with the kids and stuff and get her son involved. And it's like, you know, today we did the grass and he's out there with a blower trying to suck up grass. You know, he really isn't doing anything, but he's just out there doing his thing. So I'm trying to do something where, you know, he can sand or something, maybe make some bracelets with little wood things to engrave on it and put it down that he made it, you know, type deal.
Sure. Absolutely. And and we'll help, you know, with all of that, whatever you need. on getting it. We got a lot of resources, and then of course the trainings and all that stuff. And we can record those if you want. Like for instance, if you do your training, we can record it, and then that way other people that are going to maybe get into the thing with you, they'll be able to watch it too, so you can have it as evergreen content. So we can make that available too.
Yeah, I just got a random idea.
Oh no! Do I need to stop recording?
Hopefully not. You ever try laser engraving sandblasting sand?
No, I thought I saw somebody do sand one time to see if they could make it fuse back together and make like 3D something out of it, but I don't know how that came out. I was scrolling through some YouTube stuff and I thought I saw CO2 laser and sand, but I didn't explore it any further. But no, I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, I would not imagine.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just thinking. You know, it definitely have to be sandblasting sand because that's the actual glass sand. I might have to give that a try.
Of course, you know what happens when you try to cut glass. It doesn't seem to like it very much. But being those smaller particles, I think once it got a certain size, it would just start fracturing itself again. Even if you got some small enough where you could get them hot enough where they could actually, you know, melt together. I think once you got a little bit bigger, there wouldn't be enough energy. It'd be all concentrated so much that I think it'd be like a cold solder joint. You know what I mean? I think they'd start just balling up and kind of barely sticking to each other or fracturing back off. I don't know.
Huh.
So do you have access to some sandblasting sand?
Oh yeah, I've got it here in my shop.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I think you should give it a try.
If you don't see any video posted on it, you know it did not go well.
Work. Yeah, that's usually the case. Yeah, that'll be a neat thing to test out. You know, Chris Lacazio used to do a few of those, and I've seen some other people do it too. Well, can you laser this? You know, and they'll just do it. I'll tell you the ones that I like. This is a little bit off topic. Is the hydraulic press, where they smash things with the high-res high-speed camera, or the big machines that can chew up a car in 3 seconds, and they throw all kind of stuff in there and chew them up. I like that too.
Yeah, by the way, if anyone's new to this, we never get off topic.
Never. That's the only thing that lets the hour get by without me feeling like a total failure for not having a lesson plan.
Also, with it being on the 63, I've also heard somebody say something about the camera. You know, it's kind of hard to get it to actually be like accurate because it's such a big bed, or
it's not really an accuracy thing. You lose, even on the 51, you lose a little bit because the bed extends beyond the hinge line. So you're not going to get the full extent of the bed. The biggest thing with accuracy is not using it in conjunction with autofocus or not paying any attention to what your focal plane is for the camera, because the focal plane of the camera is just as important as the focus of the laser beam. And our autofocus system plays very, very well with the camera as long as you use it in conjunction with it. And typically we don't have a whole lot of accuracy queries or tickets, you know, after we stabilize that a little bit and get the basics on how that focus works with the camera. So you do lose a little bit of bed space, but you know, it's the back 5-inch strip, you know, and that the camera can't physically see because it can't just go behind there. But that usually isn't, you know, a big enough problem to cause anybody too much grief. You can still use it for alignment on bigger work, you know, even though you can't see it all, because as long as you can see part of it, you know, if part of it hangs behind there, it won't matter.
Yep. So I don't know if you can see the edges on this or not. This was sublimated and then cut out using the camera. So, and it got it dead perfect.
Mm-hmm. On the 63?
On the 63.
Okay. Is that UV? Oh, you said it's dye-sub?
Size.
Is that direct to material? Did you print right on it?
Yeah, so you can see I got just a smidge off right there on the edge. My camera can't quite focus that close.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, I mean, it got it pretty dead on.
Mm-hmm. So, and speaking about cameras, I mentioned last time about a 13 megapixel high definition camera that I was playing with. And we already had a question about it through Grant or whatever, I guess, but that's kind of like in research and development phase, and that may never happen. That's just, I have a big mouth, and when I play with some new toy, I got to let you know what I'm doing. it's taken a lot of resources. It's not really a Lightburn thing, I don't think, because Lightburn has confirmed they have used a 13 megapixel camera. There's a lot of things that a lot of hoops that we jump through behind the scenes when we're trying to develop a kit. Because you remember we tried our own ThunderCam kit from the very beginning with our own mount and our own cameras, and honestly, that was a disaster. So that's why we said we're going to go with the Lightburn cameras. So that was a big help. But I do want to at least try a high definition one and see if it's feasible, see if it's plausible, a 13 meg. So for the bigger ones, so when you zoom in real tight on a 50, on a 51 or a 63, you'll get that resolution.
Yeah.
So,
did they ever get the Windows issue fixed on the limited threshold for Mac or the max camera resolution?
yes.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I believe I believe it's been a while since that was addressed, and he ended up writing his own video capture engine for Lightburn instead of using the one for Microsoft. This is Windows only. If you're Apple, I think you don't have a choice. You use whatever one he's using in it. But on Windows, you can choose between the default capture system, which is Windows, which is the one that would give the errors and not give you full resolution.
Yep.
And then the new capture engine seems to find them just fine. So, and that's evidenced in the lens presets, because depending on what metadata it sees, I believe it sees the resolution of the camera, and that's how it defines that preset list. So a 4K W, for instance, you can get a 95 or 120 degree, which used to be an 85 or a 110, I think, but we had to change them a little bit. But when you plug that camera in, only the lens values that are available should show up. So what we were having happen is that it wasn't recognizing the camera right, so they weren't getting any values at all for the lens preset. So then we're trying to use the dots. You remember the dots?
Yeah.
You remember using those dots? Do you have scars from banging your head on the concrete?
So you don't have to use the dots anymore?
Mm-mm.
Are you kidding?
I'll show you. Yeah. So
why am I still using the dots?
Why are you still using the dots?
Apparently I need to upgrade Lightburn.
Let's see those scars.
Yeah, the dots were what changed. Oh, this value didn't capture it quite right.
So here's the simplified thing, and this is actually the full workflow that I go through in Nova 51, setting it up. And then missing, that's an article on if the presets are missing. But when you go in there now, it'll see the camera and it'll give you a choice. So if you have the 5 megapixel 120 degree lens, you'll choose it. So, or you can choose to do the full calibration now, but you should get a drop down now when you plug your camera in, and you should only have 2 selections, like 120, like a 110 or 120, and an 85 or 95, because we only, if you got that from us, we only get the two different field of view. So
yeah,
if it's a Lightburn camera or if it's a different camera, is it that one I sent you at the very beginning?
It was, so I don't even remember what the field of view was.
Dude, yeah, that's barely a 5 megapixel.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a 110. So yeah, you have to use the dots. I can. Okay, all right, we figured this out. So you just need a camera. You need a 4K camera. You need one of the 8 megapixel cameras.
Yeah, I actually might look around, and they're coming out with some nice 8K cameras now that are that size.
Really?
Yeah.
Now I looked at some, but I would have to use an HDMI for it because it wouldn't pass the full resolution through the USB. So I've looked at some.
USB-C is what you have to use on it. Either that or the USB 3.2, which none of my computers have 3.2 yet.
Yeah, but I have tried with an HDMI, and they do make some machine vision cameras that have full res HDMI outputs. And I was actually looking at, but the cameras are $200-300 a piece. That'd make our ThunderCam kit $1,000.
Yeah, I almost wonder if these little guys would work, like the little action cams, because they're 4K and they've got full HDMI out.
It would, as long as it would remain stationary and you get your lens calibrations.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, right now you'd have to use. I have used an IP cam in Lightburn before, using a IP to USB virtual adapter solution, and it works. Lightburn officially will tell you that it's USB only at this time, which is technically true. But there are some hacks if you want to try an IP cam, because that GoPro, if it'll transmit full HD and IP, you may be able to do that.
Yeah, it's no different than how I was using my my Thunder as wirelessly for a little while.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll run mine wirelessly too. So,
yeah.
But let's see. Let me look real quick because it's 4, and Glenn had asked a question on the chat. See, we get to talking, and oh man, I look like Mr. Wilson there for a minute when I was reading. You just see my eyes.
We should all just do that.
Yeah, on the next one.
Yeah,
we'll all start up that way, and everybody that knows about it will be cool. You know, they did an experiment like that where they staged the doctor's office and had somebody, every time a noise would beep, they'd stand up or something. And other people just started doing it, and before you know it, you had 20 people all propagating that behavior, and nobody knew why, just because one person started it.
All right, so here's what we'll do. Next week we'll do it that way, and whoever's on this one will remember that. But you've got to make sure you do it.
I'll do it. I'm going to put myself a Post-it note up so I won't forget. So his question was, he got his Nova 24 last Friday, waiting on the Thunder Cam and extra lenses. Oh, yeah, that'll be a sales question. I'm going to defer that to Grant and those guys. I have another order in. We've got a standing order with Lightburn to send us every camera they can. So as fast as we're getting them in, we're getting them out. They have another box, and they're fulfilling some more back orders, and we're starting to get ahead of it, or starting to catch up anyway. We're not ahead of it yet. We got to get the pipeline full.
Yeah, she just told me like 2 days ago that there was a good sized backlog on the cameras.
Yeah, there is. The chip famine and the reverberations from the logistics nightmares and all that stuff are part of it. And we thought about going and slipstreaming some other cameras in there, but we like to get them from Lightburn. We like knowing what we're getting. So we're getting as many from them as we can and trying to push those out. Matter of fact, they were assembling camera boxes today, I think. So there's another batch coming out. So every week we're sending out cameras. So hopefully we'll get caught up pretty soon.
Yeah.
And Keith asked if the table height can be adjusted in real time. Yes. You can run these machines in full Z-axis control. You better know what you're doing, because I'm scared to do it too. You can use it. Here's the reason I'm scared to use full axis control. Every value you put in for every material, every layer, you have to define a thickness. Otherwise, it'll do weird stuff. There's not too many reasons why you need to do that. You can turn on steps per pass, I think, without having full Z in control. I believe you can do steps per pass. Oh, yeah, from the controller. No, I don't think once the machine is in use, you can't make any changes like that. You can pause it. You could pause the work and move the machine up and then start it again. Oh, if it won't do it if paused, then I'm not sure. I've never tried, to be real honest with you.
Yeah, when you're paused, I think you can only adjust the max and power value and the speed. I don't think it'll, because as soon as you escape out to hit your Z-axis, it's gonna trash the file that you're working on, make you start over.
Yeah, I think you'll have to make sure you get your bed where you want it to be first. So, restarting it from a point that can be troublesome for sure. So. Yeah.
So the other option is, let's see, Keith, what size machine do you have?
51.
51. So 51, this might be worth doing. If you're doing a lot of stuff, especially if you want to do contouring and stuff like that, Ryan, plug your ears. Plug your ears. You don't want to hear this part. But you can get an aftermarket head for it that's got an auto height adjustment on it that shoots a laser down. And so if you have a piece of wavy metal, it'll actually sit there and contour along with it. But that will also let you do live adjustments. It's a secondary control panel that installs in the laser, and that will let you do live adjustments in height from the head, not the bed part, but the head will be able to move up and down while you're actually running it. So that might be an option. They are spend either between like $3,000 or $4,000 for the full upgrade kit.
Probably
but
adds quite a bit of weight to the head too. So
not too
acceleration and
much,
power.
actually.
I mean, the acceleration and speed might be affected a little bit. Maybe I'm sure the scanning offset values would probably have to be regenerated.
Oh yeah, you've got to redo all your offset values and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I'm still planning on retrofitting my 63 to over to one of those systems, just because we're getting some weird stuff in here now, like you know, those big US flags that are 3D sculpted in the wave pattern. They want us to laser engrave on it, and I'm sitting there, I'm like,
Just use your 6-inch lens. Come on.
a 12-inch lens.
Your spot size will be as big around as your thumb.
Yep.
So, as long as you're doing lettering, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to jump off here. You're most welcome, Keith.
Yep.
If anybody has any last minute questions, I better jump on here and see what I need to do for the rest of the afternoon so I can get wrapped up. So I appreciate you, Travis, and everybody else. Yeah, I'm going to go play with lasers. Oh, I'm seeing how many. Let's see. I'm at pass 21, and it's 13 mark. 13 is on the loop. So 13 times 21. That's how many passes I am trying to cut through that 3mm aluminum right now.
You're trying to cut through aluminum on the little fiber?
Yeah, I'm going to keep pushing the button until that circle falls out. Yeah.
And aluminum, nonetheless. You know, aluminum, they recommend like 1.5 kilowatts or higher, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm about halfway through if my calculations are correct. I'm not going to move it because I don't want to have to start over, but I am. I'm going to push that button over and over until I drop a circle out of that thing, and then I'm going to calculate how many passes it took.
Oh, geez.
24 hours later.
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, it's not like 3D printing though. Hopefully it won't be days. So
I think you might be surprised.
I think I might be too. It probably won't go all the way through. We'll see. Eventually it would. I'm wondering about the focus because I can't change the focus because that will absolutely change the scale. You know, it's not like CO2, you know, where the dot will stay in the same place if you move it up and down a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and those have a very finite focus distance on them.
And that's probably what my limit is right now. I'm probably just not really doing much because I'm out of my focal range. But if after 24 hours it hasn't cut all the way through, then maybe I'll go to plan B.
Do you have a little infrared temperature gun?
Yeah, I've got a non-contact thermometer, and I've actually got a thermal imager. So
I'd be curious to know what the heat's getting up to on that aluminum piece.
Let me see if I can find my. There it is. Let's see. I better put on my Googles, the correct ones. I must practice my due diligence, right?
Yep.
Well, it's 103 degrees around it, and I'm trying to follow the beam as best I can, and it's showing 108.
Yeah, well, if the plate's only at 103, that's actually not that bad. I would expect it to be a lot hotter than that by now.
Now out away from it a little bit, it's about 100. So yeah, right in the circle, the kerf is the hottest part, looking at the heat signature.
Yeah.
And it's about 104 degrees. Of course, I'm down in there a good bit. I've got a good amount of depth. I'm halfway through. I'm a millimeter or two in, millimeter and a half. I don't know how to make that hold in real time, but I think I snapped a picture of it. I don't know if I can make that go. Let me shut the door back. I'm trying to be good. I can't shut it all the way though. So anywho, I'll keep y'all updated on that, and I guess I'll catch you guys next time.
All right, sounds good.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys. See you next week. All right.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.